Silver basically promised he could step in and just get a deal done and all of this stuff. Breanna Stewart talking about she'd love for Adam Silver and league deputy Mark Tatum, whatever his name is. We'd love for them to come in and get this deal done. Adam Silver is no longer concerned with the WNBA CBA, y'all. He don't even care anymore.
So here's the question that keeps me up at night. When the person who promised to be your lifeline just walks away from your burning house, who exactly do we blame for the flames? Share your thoughts in the comments, because what Adam Silver's doing right now is revealing everything we need to know about where the WNBA actually sits on his priority list. They're drowning.
They don't even care anymore. They have caused so much headache, strife, and drama. The man has checked out, and he's not even worried about it no more.
Let me paint this picture for you, because the whiplash from this whole mess is absolutely wild. Just a few months back, Adam Silver was basically putting on his cape, telling everyone not to panic. If these CBA discussions went off the rails, he'd jump in personally and make sure everyone walked away happy. He was positioning himself as the grown-up who'd clean up the mess when everyone else was acting like children. Breanna Stewart was literally pleading for his help, talking about how amazing it would be if Silver and Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum could swoop in and rescue the situation. The message was crystal clear. The players had zero faith in WNBA leadership to handle fair negotiations, but they believed Adam Silver would come through for them.
Attention is elsewhere. And I said this when it first happened. When he first, a couple months ago, talking about, yeah, he'll step in if he needs to and yada, yada, yada. Then he got hit with all the gambling stuff and he's getting investigated and having to meet with senators, all this crazy stuff. I said, look, man.
Jump to right now, and this man has vanished into thin air. He's out here hyping up NBA expansion possibilities in Las Vegas and Seattle, getting all excited about NBA Europe opportunities, celebrating NBA Cup ratings like it's Christmas morning. Literally doing everything humanly possible, except actually finishing this CBA situation. We're staring down a January 15th deadline, sitting here just days away from a work stoppage that could completely destroy the 2026 season. And what's Adam Silver up to? He's giving interviews about college venues hosting NBA Cup games and taking meetings with potential European League investors. The guy has mentally left the building. He's done, finished, completely over it. And honestly, who can blame the man? These WNBA players and their union have turned this into such an unbelievable disaster that even the person who swore to fix it decided the headache wasn't worth it.
Worry about a league that's actually making money. Time goes by and he pops up again with his shiny bald head telling us he's going to get something done again. And we are just a few days out from the deadline and there's no...
Meanwhile, let's talk about what Silver's actually been juggling. Instead of this WNBA circus, the man's dealing with gambling investigations that could reshape the entire sport. He's sitting down with senators about sports betting regulations that affect billions in revenue. He's running a league that actually makes money and handling real business expansion opportunities that could generate massive profits. Then you look over at the WNBA, where they're fighting over how to divide Dermy from a league that's still trying to figure out basic profitability. The difference couldn't be more obvious if it came with flashing neon signs.
Here it says, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver addresses expansion, Cup future, and NBA in Europe. It says Commissioner Silver also touches on Cup viewership increases, Chris Paul's future, and the WNBA talks. Adam Silver is not concerned with this stuff anymore. Here it says the NBA plans to make a decision regarding domestic expansion in the coming year. Commissioner Adam Silver said Tuesday, offering the most definitive timeline since the league began exploring the possibility of moving from 30 to 32 teams. And if there are favorites, as has been long expected, Las Vegas and Seattle are at the top of the list. He was quoted as saying, "Not a secret, we're looking at this market in Las Vegas. We're looking at Seattle," Silver said before the NBA Cup final between San Antonio and New York. "We've looked at other markets as well. I'd say I want to be sensitive there about this notion that we're somehow teasing these markets because I know we've been talking about it for a while." Okay, so he's focusing on expansion and new teams in the NBA, and they're doing NBA Europe now and all of this.
Silver's recent comments about the CBA mess are absolutely incredible. When you actually decode what he's saying, he dropped this line about tracking things very closely, about being integrated at the league office, about talking daily with people at the negotiating table. Translation: I'm watching this train wreck from a comfortable distance while I handle literally everything else that matters. Then he goes on with this gem about how everyone agrees players deserve significantly more money, based on the league's increased success. Okay, fantastic. Revolutionary thinking there, Adam. But here's where it gets good. He says it's just about finding a meeting of the minds for what counts as a fair deal, and it's going to require compromise on both sides. Compromise, the exact same word Caitlin Clark used that got her absolutely destroyed by parts of the WNBA community. But when Adam Silver says it, somehow it's supposed to mean something. Here's what really gets me about this situation. Silver didn't say he'd be available months ago. He didn't say he'd keep an eye on things. The man specifically promised he would step in if needed to guarantee a deal got done. Now he's giving off these consultant vibes. Like you can call him if you really need him, instead of being the person who swore to be in the room making sure everything worked out. Where's that energy now, Adam? We're literally days from the deadline. When exactly did you plan on inserting yourself into these negotiations? Because last I checked, tracking things closely isn't the same as being at the table getting deals done. The most revealing part of this whole mess is how Silver's recent interviews spent way more time on NBA expansion and European plans than WNBA labor issues. He's out here giving detailed roadmaps for when expansion decisions will happen, explaining why Las Vegas and Seattle are incredible markets, breaking down NBA Cup viewing numbers. Then the WNBA CBA gets maybe a sentence or two of generic optimism. The priority ranking couldn't be clearer if he live-streamed his calendar. Let's dive into what Silver actually said about NBA expansion, because it perfectly shows how checked out he is from WNBA problems. He gave this detailed breakdown about exploring Las Vegas and Seattle, meeting with ownership groups, casting wide nets and having interested parties pitch their visions and resources. He specifically said that sometime in late January, they'll be ready for serious conversations with potential partners. Late January? He's got detailed meetings scheduled for late January about NBA expansion. Meanwhile, the WNBA CBA deadline hits January 15th, and he's just available if needed. The math isn't working here, people. Then there's the Europe angle. Silver's hinting at major announcements next month about NBA FIBA interest for a European league. The NBA is scheduling regular season games in Berlin and London. They're exploring international expansion with the kind of focus and energy that the WNBA CBA desperately needs, but clearly isn't getting. Silver literally told potential European partners to meet with NBA bankers, explain their interest, describe their vision, detail what resources they'd commit to launching teams. He's actively pursuing European basketball, while the WNBA's biggest names wonder if they'll even have a season to play. The neglect is so obvious it's almost artistic. Now let's address why Silver probably bailed in the first place. Because while his disappearing act is problematic, the players and their union absolutely created this nightmare themselves. We've got pieces like Collier serving as VP of the Players Union, while simultaneously running a competing league. We've got board members grabbing equity in rival ventures. We've got players talking tough about refusing to compromise, while making demands that don't match the league's financial reality. Silver probably looked at this situation and thought, why am I wasting time helping people who are actively working against their own interests? When union leadership has such blatant conflicts of interest that good faith negotiation becomes impossible, why would Silver burn his political capital forcing a deal? He's got actual NBA business that doesn't come with this level of chaos. The players wanted to play hardball. They wanted to make demands based on leagues propped up by investor money, rather than actual profits. They wanted to act like the WNBA has leverage it simply doesn't possess. Silver responded by essentially saying, "Cool story, good luck with that approach. I'll be handling real business over here." Here's what makes this particularly maddening. Caitlin Clark actually understands what's happening. She's one of the few people who grasps what's really at stake. Clark said this is the biggest moment the WNBA has ever experienced, and it's not something that can be screwed up. She wants to fight for everything they deserve, but recognizes they need to actually play basketball. She gets that momentum matters, that you can't just pause growth, that this window of massive public attention won't stay open forever. But apparently she's the only one thinking clearly. Everyone else is so obsessed with squeezing every possible dollar from negotiations that they're willing to risk the entire 2026 season and all the momentum they've built. And where's Adam Silver while Clark's trying to be the voice of reason? Planning NBA Europe and discussing expansion timeline. The irony is absolutely perfect. Players didn't trust WNBA leadership to negotiate fairly, so they wanted Silver involved. But then they created such chaos with their conflicting interests and impossible demands that Silver walked away too. They effectively pushed away the one person with enough power and influence to actually force a reasonable solution. Congratulations on that strategic thinking. One analyst pointed out that young players in the WNBA didn't even realize they were union members until recently. Think about that reality. The union is making demands that could cost an entire season, and some members didn't know they were part of the organization making those demands. That's the level of dysfunction we're talking about. And Silver's supposed to walk into that mess and magically make everyone happy? The commentary about Clark is especially interesting. People keep saying she's young, still learning, probably wants to let the older generation handle big decisions. She's 23 and doesn't understand legal complexities. But here's the thing, her instincts are better than the experienced people supposedly running these negotiations. She understands that timing matters, that you can't waste peak cultural relevance arguing about percentages. Meanwhile, veteran union leadership, with all their supposed experience and knowledge, has created such a disaster that even Adam Silver doesn't want involvement. Youth and inexperience clearly isn't the problem here. Ego and conflicting interests are. The timeline of Silver's involvement is genuinely stunning when laid out completely. He made big promises months ago. Then gambling investigations hit and shifted his attention. Then he surfaced again saying he'd get something done. Then he disappeared to focus on NBA business. Now we're days from deadline, and he's giving interviews about everything except the crisis he promised to resolve. It's like watching someone promise to help you move, then show up on moving day to discuss their vacation plans while your furniture sits in boxes. The available if needed energy is particularly hilarious. Brother, if not now, then when exactly? The deadline is days away. The entire 2026 season hangs in the balance. Caitlin Clark, the person single-handedly driving massive interest in the league, is publicly calling for compromise. What more do you need to determine that involvement is required? But Silver's too busy explaining how Las Vegas could absolutely support an NBA team, despite all the other major league teams and entertainment options. He's got time to discuss Seattle being an incredible city that obviously had successful teams before. Just not enough time to actually show up for WNBA negotiations he promised to handle. The contrast between how Silver discusses NBA expansion versus WNBA labor negotiations is absolutely devastating. With expansion, he's detailed, engaged, providing timelines and specific information. With the WNBA CBA, generic platitudes and cautious optimism, that tells you everything about where each issue ranks in his thinking. And honestly, from a business perspective, it makes complete sense. NBA expansion teams will cost prospective owners billions of dollars. The league will generate massive new revenue streams. It's a huge business opportunity that deserves serious attention. The WNBA CBA is a labor dispute in a league that still relies on NBA subsidies to operate. The financial stakes aren't even comparable. But Silver made promises. He positioned himself as the person who'd ensure this got done. Now he's backing away because dealing with dysfunctional union leadership apparently isn't worth his time. The players wanted autonomy. They wanted to flex their leverage. They wanted to make demands without compromise. Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you asked for. Silver's letting you handle it yourselves, while he focuses on ventures that actually impact the NBA's bottom line. What's particularly sad is how this affects players like Caitlin Clark, who actually understand the situation. She's trying to be reasonable. She's advocating for playing basketball instead of destroying the season. She understands that this moment of peak attention is temporary, and she's getting ignored by her own union while the commissioner who could force a deal is planning European basketball leagues instead. Clark brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. She filled arenas, drove viewership numbers, made the league locally relevant in ways it never has been before. This is how she's being repaid, with labor drama that threatens to waste all that momentum. The timing couldn't be worse. You finally have mainstream attention. Corporate sponsors are interested. Fans who aren't basketball diehards actually care about the WNBA. And you're going to risk all of that over CBA negotiations where neither side will bend. Silver sees this disaster developing, and apparently decided it's not his problem anymore. He gave them opportunities to get things together. He offered help. They created such dysfunction that helping became impossible. So now he's focusing on things he can actually control. NBA expansion, European leagues, ventures that won't give him migraines every time someone speaks. Adam Silver checked out because WNBA players made helping them impossible, while Caitlin Clark desperately tries saving the season with calls for compromise. Union leadership plays games that push away their only real ally. Now everyone loses. If you're tired of watching self-sabotage destroy opportunity, smash that like button and subscribe. Subscribe for more unfiltered truth about sports chaos.